Want to turn on those microphones, please? Before we start the meeting, we'd like to ask everybody just to, I don't know if everybody knows, there was a school shooting in Minnesota today where there were children killed and injured. And so we just want to take a moment silent moment to think about them and pray for them. Okay, with that depressing start. Another thing I want to ask everybody is it was reported after the last meeting that in some cases, even people sitting here aren't really heard well during the meeting, so try to make sure you're at least speaking towards or into a microphone. They move around. So I'm going to just leave this up to Bob Murphy, our consultant from Barton and LaJudas, and Adrian Cattell, our planner. I think today's show is their show.
Okay. Well, I'll start.
Great, so turn the microphone, or take this one.
My way? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. So, this is our second town board workshop of 3 for the zoning code update. The last workshop, we looked at 4 specific sections of the code with the keeping of chickens, and then some unrelated to the chickens, solar energy facilities, battery storage facilities, and then PDDs.
And just to clarify, I think we've settled on the first 3 items pretty clearly. We understand we still have a little work to do on the PDDs. We're probably not going to discuss that tonight because staff hasn't had an opportunity yet to figure out where they want to go with that, so.
Make those changes. So, and the third meeting, which is next Thursday, will focus on form-based code. So, tonight's agenda is really focused on the general regulations overall, not any one specific section. We're trying to save discussion of those for the other meetings that we've had, because there's a lot to go through. It's a 317-page section of the municipal code, the zoning section, chapter 167. And what we wanted to go through tonight with the board is the overall changes to each article. And I think we've got 19 articles plus some attachments, appendices, and some global changes as well. We've also highlighted some of the more significant of these changes. I think overall, we think that the sections that we've pulled out to discuss, like we did last time, those 4 sections in the form-based code are the most significant for discussion. But of the others, we've highlighted here, for your benefit, some of the changes we think are a little bit more, significant than some of the others. A lot of the changes here are sort of updating, cleaning up language, cleaning up contradictions in the code that have kind of occurred over time, updating language based on, experience from the planning staff, code enforcement, just to clear up issues that we've had over time. And then adding in some of the new sections that we've talked about, removing some sections that are no longer pertinent. And those are just sort of the overall broad changes. I think it probably makes sense from just a thoroughness perspective to at least walk through each of these sections, and we can discuss as needed as we move along.
Perfect.
Okay? Yep. All right, so starting with Article 1. And I know before I get into that, also Adrian's provided the updated zoning map behind him as well, and at the back of the room. And as you may notice on there, it is a draft. It says it a few times, so this should be relatively clear. So we'll walk through this if we need to refer to the map as well. So Article 1, definitions. A lot of these definitions were added to, removed, changed in a global sense. There's several markups that we can speak to, but it's just updating definitions for new uses, new ways to interpret things. I know a lot of things, some language can get antiquated, particularly as new uses such as Airbnb, short-term rentals come along. Those new uses change how you interpret definitions throughout the code. So those are some of the changes there. Do we want to speak about any of the specific definitions that are new or edited or changed?
Let me just look quickly at them.
Was there anything that was substantial that really has a lot of impact, or?
I don't think so. I think that we just added several and changed several, but their cumulative impact I don't think is very significant.
Okay.
Yeah, so we added batteries, battery storage, battery energy storage, things like that.
Active agricultural land,
Yeah,
Beer garden.
beer garden,
yeah, beer garden and
brewery,
German spelling of beer garden.
yep. Building integrated solar cell. Chickens. Yeah, nothing's,
Cut off lighting,
dedicated building use, dedicated use building. So it really, it's just updating from things that were not necessarily addressed because of the antiquated code. I don't really see anything that's,
and helping other sections function better.
Right.
Remove any confusion about what do we mean by dedicated
Clarification.
use building, yeah.
Yeah.
Electric vehicle definitions as well.
We added mixed uses, commercial.
Right.
because remember, that was something we talked about, that mixed use
Yep.
was one of the things that Matt was concerned about.
Yep. So it's just a mix of commercial uses, no residential.
Right, it's just mixed uses no longer includes residential. Or mixed use commercial.
Right. We added mural.
Huh?
Mural. We added a mural.
Right, the mural definition,
Yep.
manufactured home definition,
We designated painted sign or sign, comma, painted for signs that are painted on, which is different than a mural.
yeah, and sign, sign code can be tricky. And so having more definitions helps everyone at least be able to discuss them on a level playing field, like, all right, this is what a painted sign is, this is what a mural is. That helps further that discussion. Sign code is always can be a sticking point in every code. There's a lot of protections under sign code.
I don't see anything else here that really is surprising or noteworthy.
I think we expanded recreation facility to include outdoor as well. It's indoor
Yep.
or outdoor.
Right.
We removed roads and those things from open space, correct?
Added a definition for tiny house. And that's based on the New York State 2020 residential code law.
Okay,
So, yeah,
everybody good? All right,
so on to Article 2, which is the districts and the zoning map, which we have, again, up here behind Adrian and at the back of the room. Just some small changes here. Do we have them pointed out on there?
I mean, really, the biggest change to the map is we've added a large swath of land conservation.
Right.
Yep. This is just the draft of the new stuff. It doesn't show what it used to be. The old stuff is still available on our website, for comparison's sake, and in our office.
And a lot of that LC reflects the changes in the wetlands.
Mhm.
That's how we derived on it, so
Yeah, all of this LC is either wetlands or floodplain or steep slopes. So stuff that you really couldn't or wouldn't want to build on anyway. We're just making it apparent where those areas are.
It's even more restrictive with the new wetlands laws that were just passed last year
Yep.
at the state level.
I mean, there are a couple of things out there that we did down, this map reflects the changes to the Round Lake Road corridor, where we did the C7 overlay? C5?
5 and 5A.
Yep.
I think that's another thing about this too, is that it reflects the changes that have occurred over the last couple of years that weren't on what was available online before. So it's not like it's new law, it's just showing what is the law.
Well, I don't think that was ever adapted. Was that ever adapted? It was just recommended in the comp plan. So it's something that we're proposing in this legislation to change, so it extinguishes, are there two PDDs down there that extinguishes? One of them is the Grand Prix.
Yep.
It's the Grand Prix only, right? But
And this also reflects the extension of C2 and C9 on Route 9 South, right by the bypass, which we already approved that. This just now
Right,
shows it.
Yes.
So that we just extended those to the property lines, so they weren't split zoned anymore.
is there anything else? The just for trucks is in that too, but that's minor.
That was just extending the C2.
Right.
after that and eliminating.
Like the PDD,
Yeah.
And those will come up later too in
right?
the appendix.
I can't think of it. Was there anything else?
This map shows 67 West overlay, which the current map doesn't, but it is already approved. So again, just adding that.
What it doesn't show is the proposed changes that we're gonna adopt
Right, because those are in the,
on September 8th.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I think those are pretty much,
yeah, I think that's it. I can't think of anything else that we changed.
it's mainly the LC is the big one.
Right.
Yep.
Let me ask an ignorant question. When we talked about, I'm sorry, when we talked about solar farms recently, policy on that, do the laws regarding limiting what you can do on wetlands also apply to solar panels?
Yes. Yeah, any type of development in a wetland, anything designated as a wetland or in the wetland buffer, any type of development, whether it's an observation deck for a trail, like that counts as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we good on Article 2? Article 3,
All right, yep, minor changes were made just to be consistent with current town procedures on the applicability of regulations. Very minor edit. Here. This
Yeah.
section's much, smaller than the other sections.
and same with Article 4, nothing really.
Non-conforming uses, again, just changing some word usage there. Non-conforming uses are uses that are present that do not conform with the underlying zoning. A lot of times they're pre-existing non-conforming.
The Speedway,
Yeah, so the
Carson's.
section of law is used to address those situations. Mhm. And Article 5 is the permitted uses in bulk requirements table. Bulk requirements is dimensions, build to line, setback lines, lot coverage limitations, minimum lot size, maximum lot size. And these are governed, have been effectively governed by attachments 2 and 3 to the zone, or sorry, 1 and 2 to the zoning code, which are residential and commercial uses separately. There was text in this article that made regulating it confusing. So we've now changed that language to say refer to the tables, to so we can all be clear that we're using the tables, not the text.
Right, see attachment 1, see attachment 2.
Yes. We also added regulations for public utilities, structures and facilities. I know we made a note today on that. And in our version that we sent out a couple days ago, we do say that it excludes, that the definition of utility excludes water towers. But we want to remove that exclusion and allow it to include, utility to include water towers.
And that was at the request of our water engineer.
We also had regulations for electric vehicle charging stations and flag lots. And flag lots are parcels that look like a flag because there's a narrow passageway for access, usually for a driveway. So every lot should have access to a road. And sometimes those are arranged in a way where you need this narrow strip for access to a maybe a larger property but off the road. Those are called, they look like a flag, so they're called flag lots. Any questions on that section? I know we also sent out the attachments 1 and 2 as well. This particular edit was that we were just saying refer to those attachments. But we can cover those tables now or later.
I think it makes sense to cover them now, don't you
Okay.
think?
Sure.
You got those to put up, Adrian, or no?
I believe I have the residential, definitely. Just waiting for that to load.
So we're referring to what attachment?
Attachments are the
Residential.
attachment 1, residential zoning chart, and attachment 2,
Commercial?
commercial zoning.
So, the residential, we didn't make a whole lot of changes. We added chickens.
Yep.
And then basically just some definitions.
Yeah, and something to note is that we talked about these changes in prior workshops that we
Right.
had in the early spring.
So they were
So
changes
this was
agreed to
discussed.
by this board.
Correct, discussed and notes were taken, and these were the changes that came out of there, what was done in red.
So really, we're just kind of reviewing the work we did before.
Catching up.
So any questions about any of the residential? It's,
Well, in the note 21 and 22 on this handout that Bob gave us has what they are too.
oh, okay,
Chicken
oh, okay.
Where and the.
Oh, right.
Because we were gonna get there, but seeing as we fast forwarded.
But we don't have to fast forward, but,
No, you're good.
okay.
Everyone following along? That's
Yep,
where
so
we're at.
that's attachments 21 and 22.
Oh, attachments 1 and 2, but
Attachments 1 and 2.
Number.
Number 21, well, the people at home don't necessarily have this summary of changes by article because we got it late today. But there are printed copies of this for the public that's here.
I had the, excuse me, the changes up before on the screen.
oh, yep.
They're not currently up on the screen right now. Now
They
we are.
can come back.
Yep. So.
I mean, commercial, all it is here is we added chickens as permitted uses and several residential zones and made some use and bulk changes were made to residential districts. So added some uses, changed some uses.
And again, bulk has to do with dimension requirements.
All right.
Second. C7 and 8,
Well, we can go to that. So now we're at attachment 2,
Yep.
which was made available to the public. I mean, there's more changes here than there are with the residential. Although still, they're not really that significant.
But they also were discussed.
Right, exactly. They were discussed in prior workshops and agreed to by this board.
Is residential duplexes and threeplexes still in the C7 and 8, I think it is,
It's just townhomes,
Townhomes,
townhouses?
units.
yeah.
I don't know how planning feels on this, but isn't that a little bit of a conflict between, residential structures versus
So
residential, or
in the C7 and C8,
am I wrong on
residential
that?
is allowed 500 feet away from, back from Route 9. So there are dense parcels.
So it's towards the back end
Yes.
So the
only?
first 500 feet is reserved for commercial development. And then 500 feet you can have, by right, as of currently, you're allowed single-family homes and,
This box.
Right.
of residential
Yeah.
sections, we have one here.
and two-family homes.
Right,
So 67 West and all of Route 9 has a,
Well, just.
not
from-
all, from,
The north
from
part.
Dunning,
7 and 8, I think. is-
north.
From Kramer.
Kramer, okay, it's Kramer Road North, has a 500-foot residential
All the way up?
exclusion, all the way up. So that residential is excluded from Route 9. So this adds those townhouses as an option outside that 500-foot
Right.
residential exclusion.
Is that a standard practice?
It's a practice that this board put into place, I think, in 2017, when you adopted the rezoning of, I believe it was 2017.
Route 9 North was 18,
Okay,
but you worked on it in
Right.
17, but it was,
So 2018?
Right, the 500-foot exclusionary zone was adopted in 2018.
okay. It was close,
yep.
so,
And to speak on commercial zones broadly,
That's the way how I'm
You're gonna- yeah.
kind of seeing it.
yeah, so, a little planning history, going back to when zoning was put into place, there was distinct separation of uses was what
Right.
was proposed there.
Yeah.
What that resulted in a lot of places is pre-existing non-conforming uses. We talked about non-conforming uses earlier. A lot of places were built, not so much in Malta necessarily, but with ground floor commercial and people lived above their store or whatever. And when they put the zoning in, it created these non-conforming uses where you had these mixtures of people living where they were working. In the last, say, 40 years, and the term is new urbanism, folks have realized that the planning industry has realized that it's not great to separate completely residences from commercial uses in a lot of ways, because that moves away the people shopping at your stores or using your services for your barber.
or your
And I
workforce.
understand
Yeah,
that principle
yeah,
overall. I'm just concerned about conflicts going forward. I mean, we have our form-based code, which is structured over that philosophy, but then we're still kind of spreading it throughout other areas of town. Do we
Yes and no.
want that? I mean,
In the form-based code, they overlap more, for lack of a better word. In this case, we're not allowing residential use, and in what clearly is commercial,
right, yeah.
the 500 feet, but beyond that, you want to put 2 townhouses in or some homes. So they're not overlapped and mixed together, you know what I mean?
They're
So it can't be like,
separate.
you can't have anything like Ellsworth, well, you can't have apartments either, but they're not allowed use in those areas.
Just drawing my concern, that's all.
Yep. Yep,
Right. I have a question. On the townhouses, is it intentionally, it has to be 2 units? Or, in other words, could it be a building with 3 townhouses?
I think it brings up three
I think
plexes.
they intentionally said two only in the C7 and C8, 2 units only, because there was concern about density by board members back in the spring. So it's a true townhouse, so you can have
Like a
lots,
shared
shared.
two.
Exactly.
And that's in line with the already allowed one-family and two-family dwellings
Right.
in those zones.
Right, so it was, that's where I was getting at. It wasn't intended to increase the density, just the style of property.
Style of development, yes. That's consistent.
There we go. Nice. The map was staying.
It's also where you'll see the brewery distillery added, beer garden, bulk requirements.
moved some uses from special use permits to as of right uses
Did.
that,
Yep.
and again, these are all things that we discussed.
Everything should be in red too, so it's clear
Yep.
to see
Right.
what moved or changed.
Right,
Thank you for doing that.
and yellow is what's added, correct?
Yeah, new use.
It's what?
Yellow is what's added. Red is things that were
Totally
changed.
added, okay.
Right,
Yep. New uses.
anything else?
All right.
Well done.
So moving Article 6, which is site plan review. Again, these are procedure clarifications, especially for the change in tenancy and use issues.
Article 6. Is Article 5 was the big one, wasn't it?
Yep. So then, any other questions or comments on Article 6? Okay. Article 7 is PDDs, and that was discussed last time. Some changes to be made and reapproach the board with some of those changes. Article 8. Supplemental regulation, this is a common section in zoning codes. Some of the sign changes that Adrian alluded to earlier, as well as minor changes for off-street parking and lighting, and provisions for undergrounding utilities with tracer wires, and that's also where the keeping of chickens will come into play.
Doesn't,
What did we decide on chickens? Was 6 the number?
6.
6 was the number, no roosters,
40,000.
40,000 square feet, so almost an acre,
And only hens,
and only hens.
roosters.
No roosters.
So signs and lighting and chickens go in the same article?
Supplementary regulations.
They're all
Okay.
supplementary.
Yep. And we did, I think, clarify a few of the lighting terminology, just to make sure it was up to date with
Yep,
current standards for,
current language.
yep,
Measurement of light, glare,
making sure we don't have light pollution. So,
and a lot of the definitions that were added in Section 1, or Article 1, were a result of that as well.
yep.
Any other comments on Article 8?
Yeah. 8C,
Mhm.
the provision was added that underground utilities are required to have proper tracer wires. What's a tracer wire?
So that, so that utilities can know where those lines are.
So you, you can
After
find
that,
them with
yeah.
a metal detector,
They
basically.
can scan them?
Yeah.
So when you call UDIG, they come out there and they mark it.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
They dig safe.
Because that has been a
Problem, yep.
has been a problem in the forest and the drainage issues, that there were things they couldn't even find
Yeah.
that were, just put projects on hold.
Yeah, that's a problem, especially in older communities where they don't know where these wires are, because
Yeah.
it wasn't required then. So it's a good best practice.
My guy can't even find a sprinkler, you know, goddamn thing, it's only a foot deep.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it makes all the sense in the world to include here.
It's true.
He sneaks
You ever
in,
put that
the
tracer wire
first
in,
words out of his
that's my
mouth make us
sprinkler.
laugh.
Yeah.
It's an investment.
You're gonna need sprinklers this summer. It's been so dry.
I'm gonna get the old fashioned.
Yeah. And we like that here.
Adapt and overcome.
So, Article 9 is administration, and this is more the procedural end. Some changes were made for references, the issuance of permits by state agencies, and the issuances of variances and clarification of requirements. There's also an update to the length of ZBA term, which reflects current regulations from 5 to 7 years, based on, I believe, the number of people on the board, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So nothing really of
Most
significance there.
clerical.
Yeah.
Article 10, same, there really isn't anything of significance.
As we talked about earlier, the jurisdictional wetland laws have been updated at the state level, and this is reflected in these changes.
So how did you compensate for that
Just added,
vagueness in the state swampland areas that can kind of fluctuate, as I understand?
I think what we updated this to say is that it is, that it references this section of state law, so that if it does change, that we won't need to change this again.
I got you. It will be changing
Yep.
constantly.
Yep. Yep. So that, I mean, we're still gonna need to be looking at that all the time, but this should minimize changes that will need to be made. And that was amendment procedure, additional standards, and stormwater control.
Yep.
Article 11 is open space development and preservation. Minor changes were made regarding conditions on open space development in sections noted. Townhouse development added as an option for open space development, and provision was added for require access to open space development for all residents of the corresponding residential development. So everyone has access to the open space that's provided.
Clarify that from our HOAs.
Yes.
Existing HOAs that don't allow the public to use their trails, how is that fit within our code nowadays? I think there's green space that the HOAs acquired that have trails through them, which don't allow the public to use. Doesn't make much sense, but I do know that the signs are still posted saying it's not open to the public.
Is this what that's referring to? Those are situations where it's actually HOA owned land, your neighborhood.
HOA owns land. I can't encroach into their land. It's not public land. It's not public
Right.
land to buy. And,
Right, it's-
they don't want public on it because, you know, it's all, liability. And the homeowners are doing the upkeep. So if you let 1 million people go on the thing and there's only, 30 people paying for it, they'll go broke.
And I think this provision is saying that it's requiring, it's requiring access for people in that HOA.
Yeah, for residents of the corresponding residential development.
I think it was, if it's a PDD and the trails were the public benefit, in
That's
that
different.
situation, everybody, but HOAs are different.
Yes.
That's another question I asked the other day, just trying to clarify how the language should be going forward. To me, there's a big difference between if your development has a nice park or trails and only your development can use it, that's not what I would really consider public benefit. That's
Correct.
just the people in your neighborhood, as opposed to a different development who might have a ball field or a trail or a park, some other amenity that is considered truly public. So have we done enough to distinguish so that the planning board can,
Yeah, I think
can
that's-
understand the importance of the difference so that we're clear on that?
I think that's differentiated here. I mean, first of all, you know, the true public benefit thing that is gonna be in totally different legislation with the PDD. This is talking about amenities in a subdivision. So, like Gales Trails.
And I'm only sort of half joking here, but can we get rid of gazebos as a public benefit?
You're not benefiting from the gazebos?
I honestly don't see anybody ever benefiting from the gazebos. I mean, I'm not in the neighborhood with a gazebo, so maybe.
Unless you name one after me, I'll take it.
Yeah, most like High Point has one. Traverse Meadows has one. Cedar Point has one.
The lake used to have one. Sorry, Mark.
Ricky, stop causing trouble.
That coffee.
No, I'm sorry, I apologize.
This is not the time to bring the alcohol.
So I guess we'll move on to Article 12, fees and costs. And here, the references were updated to reflect the current fee schedule.
Right.
So no changes there other than to reflect the current fee schedule.
Adult use, there was no change at all.
Changes. Downtown overlay district. We'll save that discussion
That
for
rest
next
for
time.
form-based code, right?
Historic preservation is Article 15, minor changes to shift certain responsibilities for hardship applications and criteria from the town board to the ZBA.
Makes sense.
It's more commonly done that way. Form-based code again, Article 16. We can talk about that next time. Article 17, which is our agricultural protection overlay district, no changes were made.
And then,
And solar and battery storage, the next two we talked about last time.
and there'll be added sections in the code,
Correct.
new. Both of those.
And then some of the appendix changes, we talked a little bit earlier about the map changes for the Grand Prix Motel PDD and just for trucks.
For the sections of the PDDs that we eliminated, so like, excuse me, Park Place, we took those 5 parcels out. Do we remove those from the appendix in the appropriate section, or do we leave those there? What's the,
I think we can remove them from the appendix. The only things that are worth leaving are, and maybe this is a question for you, Steve, as well, for, to reserve those sections in the, in the code language, but not necessarily in the appendix.
Gotcha.
So, I'm sorry, did we say we're gonna take them out of the code, but leave them in the appendix? Is that what you said?
We're gonna
Or is
leave
it
this
the way
section
around?
other way around.
Okay.
Yep.
Sorry, I was flipping through them.
You already mentioned the tiny homes. I know there was an article in the news the other day about Troy adding, or they're building tiny homes complex in the Leonard Hospital.
It's like,
A whole complex of tiny homes?
senior housing's even.
It's gonna be exclusively for senior housing, yeah.
Kind
where they
of like Munchkin Land.
Allow a tiny home in the back of a home also for like in-laws or,
Ancillary dwelling unit, yeah.
that's starting to get a common thing in the planning area.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, with the housing crunch that is being seen around the state, options to do that accessory dwelling units is definitely that's kind of
It's like
like a low hanging fruit.
a area.
Yeah, without changing the underlying density, it's a way to accommodate more housing.
There's a lot of PDDs,
Yeah.
a lot of flipping pages through.
And so we added tiny homes to mobile home parks, so they can have mobile homes, or manufactured homes or tiny homes. And then correct me if I'm wrong, but are we considering tiny home a type of single-family development? So in R1, you could put a house, like a normal house, or you could put a tiny home?
I believe so.
Do we need to mention in the definition that that is a type of single-family home more explicitly?
I think that would help
Okay.
clarify that. I'll make a note of that.
And we are requiring that they're on foundations with water, sewer, or septic. It can't be like the trailers with, no hookups, so we don't have any sanitation issues like that. And make sure people have water.
I gotta be getting close. I'm in Travers Meadows. There's not that many after that, right? Cedar Point, probably. Okay,
Adrian.
well then.
Your last statement on the water and sewer hookup, could you clarify that again?
Yeah, so with tiny homes, oftentimes people think of like the trailers, so they're on wheels and they can be moved around wherever, and they're not hooked up to a water or well service
Yeah.
or sewer or septic service, which, can be an issue if you have somebody long-term. So our definition of tiny home is requiring that they're on a foundation, not wheels, and that they are hooked up to some sort of water service, whether it's well or,
Gotcha.
or,
It isn't a self-contained water or sewer system. It has to be hooked up to a public.
yeah, I mean, they could have like a private well if water service wasn't available.
Right.
But it's, they have to have something. Yep.
Right. All right, we discussed the attachments 1 and 2 earlier. Attachment 3 is sign code. And what we've done here is consolidate the sign code documents into one attachment. So no changes, just in that regard, just putting them all together. The attachments for it. Attachment 4, number 24 on our list here is zoning philosophy. No changes were made there. Attachment 5 is form-based code attachments. They'll be discussed next week.
I will not be here next week for that. but I might have one comment that I'm gonna write in, and it's considered, if it's not, it's not.
When you say next week, that's Thursday?
Next
Correct.
Thursday.
Thursday.
All right, this
4
check.
o'clock.
That's checking.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I got,
Yep.
4 o'clock, right?
at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, by all means, Craig, if you just send in something in writing, we'll consider it.
It's fairly straightforward, but
And then global change, we talked about the map already. And then lastly, global changes for attachment names. Again, very clerical numbers, links, just making sure that they're all, where they are now located, that they all match up.
that's very helpful.
Yep. And grammatical and wording changes elsewhere. So that's the summary of the general section here. Floria?
I
Yeah,
have one question. I want to back up to attachment number 2.
okay.
You state that we added townhouse uses to form-based code DN4, DX3, RA3, RA2.
They're already there.
They're already permitted uses, so those should be crossed off your
Yep.
list. So that it's already, I don't want the public to think that we're adding those uses. They are already currently are a permitted use in the form-based code.
In
In all those, the only zone that we're adding townhouse
GC3.
is GC3.
GC3.
All other zones that,
It was already there.
it's already
Right.
there. I just wanted to clarify that.
I have a question on the tiny homes. And I didn't get a chance to go through the whole part of that. Are there different requirements built into the code, building code for like egress and ingress and, you know, how many, where type of,
They,
the
s-
size of the units?
they still have to comply with building code for
Right.
egress, yeah.
Yeah, they have to comply with building code, but because of their small size, are there any changes that we should contemplate putting in here?
Oh, to like assist that.
Yeah, like I'm just thinking of like, well, they gotta be on a foundation, right? But like, you know, they're like, sometimes they got lofts, so that they have a spiral staircase inside. Do we need to have different, any provisions for ingress and egress because of the size of the units that, I don't know, it's just, I guess 600 feet isn't that small. Some of them are really tiny, and they won't have normal, like even entrances and egress and
That's a good question.
handicap and all kinds of other.
You know, I guess at a baseline, as Adrian said, they'll have to, you know, abide by building code. And then from a, like impact on neighbors perspective, they're smaller. So, as long as they abide by the same setback requirements of the underlying zoning.
Requirements between them. And you put like 15 in your backyard.
Well, they still function as a single-family home here, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, the
so,
things like I was sort of thinking of is like if you have a tiny home and you have stairs going up, do they have to be, and what are the normal requirements of width? Would we have a smaller accommodation for that? Can we, should we? Type of things. I don't know that much about them, but I'm just thinking of like, if we allow them in the code, but then you can't build them that makes them functional under our code, are there, and I'm not by any means an expert on that, but
That's
is there
actually
other
a valid point.
changes, you know, and I don't know, I'm sure there's other legislation that we can kind of take a look at if.
So New York State Building Code has a whole appendice that is dedicated to tiny homes. I think it's Q,
Okay,
at least for right now. I know they're gonna be updating the code next year, and I don't know if tiny homes will be a part of it. But they give specifics about lengths of hallways, minimum ceiling heights and other things, and so I'm sure if you read more in depth in there, they probably have the doors and the things that you're talking about as well.
yeah, I just want it to be functional that it works, and if New York State Building Code addresses it, then
Yes.
we wouldn't.
We don't want.
We could just
home
reference
built,
that.
We can just reference that.
Like home built, you know, and, yeah. So we're still talking one home per lot, right?
correct.
Yes.
Unless it's in a mobile home park, in which is not what you're concerned about, I don't think.
I can't put a tiny home in my backyard right now.
No.
We don't allow accessory dwelling units.
Right, if we allowed accessory dwelling units, you could, but
You could knock down your house and rebuild it as
Build
a
a tiny home,
Yes.
it's easier to clean.
So I think that is everything. Thank you for the clarification, Floria, on that comment that, was erroneous. I've got some notes to, look and do as well as we keep refining this. But those were the main changes that we wanted to discuss today.
Yeah, see, our work earlier paid off.
Right, and a lot of this was covered in
Right.
April and May.
It's just updating, so. Anybody have anything else that we need to? All right, well, next week we'll be talking about the form-based code. Again, there really weren't a lot of significant changes, so I don't anticipate we'll be here all night.
Minor,
Yeah,
I've been working on, I've obtained the original 2013 document from Code Studios, so I've been going back and making sure that it's formatted and incorporated all the changes we've made in the last 10 years.
You know, you bring up a really good point, because whenever the town considers making a change to the form-based code, my first thing is the cost of doing so and the impact of it. So, I mean, you really did bring up a good point. You hate to disrupt something that was such a process, and all of a sudden you edit this, and then all of a sudden you edit that, and all of a sudden the links aren't together, and it just doesn't
I mean,
tell the whole story.
a lot of the changes were because we were sort of, the groundbreakers in New York State for instituting a form-based code. And fortunately, we did it at a time that we didn't really have the development pressure that we have now, so we,
It's been working.
it's been working, and we were ahead of the game. And now you got other municipalities that are trying to institute a form-based code, but they already are developed and going back and trying to reinvent the wheel, so I think.
Or they do half of it.
Yeah, I think it's one thing that
Pull
Malta
out
has done well.
sections.
I've said the traffic in Malta is not that bad because we mitigated the traffic before there was any traffic. And, we still continue to do so. So, I think,
We'll have a nice clean document.
yeah, good. Looking forward to seeing it.
Appreciate that.
Yep. All right, thanks, everybody. I think we're winding down in this process. It feels good.
Yeah.
So.
Cynthia, will all these drafts and the map